bottom line question, and I want you to take your time on this one, is what do you, Robert Smith, want your leadership legacy to be? What do you want your leadership legacy to be? I know you've thought about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't actually think about legacy, believe it or not, all that much.
Really?
No, I don't. It's kind of, it's been an interesting term, kind of bantied around a little bit. I actually think about very simply, do what you can when you can, and, and do it according to God's will. And that's how I think about it. And if you wake up every day with that in your mind, hopefully you get some stuff done that actually helps, right?
Yeah.
And you may not get it all right, but do what you can when you can.
Yeah. As simplistic as you make that sound, I mean, the fact that you understand life has both successes and challenges, and you're going to lose sometimes, but it's about what you do, getting up and making an effort versus just being defeated by it. Hopefully, is a message that will resonate with everybody that's listening in today, because that's the embodiment of your brand to me.
Yeah.
There are a couple of chat questions that I wanted to. We have a few minutes left.
Right.
When you think of everything going on in the world today, is there anything, is there a one thing that keeps you up at night at all?
Well, there's a bunch of things, man. We hit a little. I mean, that's what we've been talking about. Systemic racism keeps me up at night, and it permeates a lot of the American society and institutions. And part of what we have to do is to eliminate it. The good news is we have a lot more allies than my parents' generation and their parents' generation and their parents' generation. And so we just have to keep those allies mobilized with us. I've got children, we've got family members who are younger than us who will have to, live in this country. And, I think it is upon us to make it a more just society in which they live, so they feel valued and loved and have the ability to express their greatest human self in their lifetimes.
Thank you for that. And the one question from Jamal, he said, similar to stocks in the industry, how do you restrict yourself from falling into societal pressures of what to invest your time and value in? I think that's just for guidance for us all.
Yeah,
because you're perfect, and the rest of us are just trying to be you. I mean,
no, man, I like all things. I focus on things that are of interest to me that I think can have the impact that I would like. I focus on, my company in Vista and what we do and how we do it and how we expand our investing capacity and how we can do it globally. And I mean, I focus a lot of my time, energy, attention on that. I then have time, energy, and attention on being an African-American male and a Black father, right? And those are and how do I deal with all of that, and what can I do about that? And then I think about it in the context of being, a mentor with a number of African-American investors of different sizes, stages, and how can I be helpful? Some of them are investing things I have no idea about. And how can I be helpful to them? In some cases, I can't be helpful to you, right? In some cases, I can be. And then I think about, what my family focuses on in some of our philanthropic work around everything from aging out foster kids to music education and providing outdoor experiences, or alleviating what I call some of the burdens of that society has placed on African-American youth. To give them a chance to, kind of more fully express the opportunity that this country presents.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of get through all that and a little bit of pleasure reading, I don't know how much more time I have. So, it's easy not to look at other stuff.
Yeah. But I was thinking about the Sphinx organization you support too. So just the contributions are endless. The last question is when you were that little child in Colorado, did you ever imagine that what you're doing now is what you did you ever think of that, when you were running around, being called out by neighbors about things you did around the block?
At that age, no. But when I got to high school, and I don't think I've ever told this story. And I got the job at Bell Labs.
Listen up.
Yeah, and I had to drive every day. I had to get up around 4:30, 5 o'clock. I had a 69 Plymouth Satellite with probably about 100,000 miles on it. And I had to drive to work. And I'd go to work 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, because I was just so excited to be there. I would drive by, I remember it was a big oil refinery. It was owned by the Vickers Company at the time. And I'd see this city, okay? Oil refineries kind of look like cities because they're light. At night, there was a bunch of lights on the on the various towers and separation towers and all that sort of thing. And I was like, spectacular. And I said, I wonder, how do you own one of those things? How do you own a business where you actually own a city like that? And at some point I said, one day one day I'm going to have the capacity to do that. And so, I was a teenager at the time. And, originally, but you drive by it every day, twice a day, right? And when you start to see it and then you start to understand it, and I'll tell you a funny story, 25 years later, the family that owned that, I ended up buying one of their software businesses, believe it or not. And and that story kind of came back to me and thought about it. But a lot of it you actually have to see things. And that's why it's important for our kids to see things and to experience things. That's why these internships are so important, and give them an opportunity and a chance to dream and expand. Now, some of the dreams may not be, so well directed at certain ages, but if they never see it, they never dream. If they never dream, it's hard for them to become. I was watching the video earlier, and they had, I remember when Jesse Jackson came to town when I was in, high school, and kind of walked through that I am somebody. And I mean, that stuff made a difference. Right. Because if you grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in, beloved, but there was a very defined things that people did, Pullman porter, teacher, and maybe at a dinner, but you need to have some expression of who you can be in front of you in a way that helps you to visualize yourself and manifest your life in that form or another. And that's why all that's important. That's why ELC is important. It's important for young executives to now look at senior executives and say, man, I can get to that level. I can do those things. And that whole mentoring dynamics is critically important. But if you don't see it, it's hard to be it.
It's hard to be there. Yeah. And we so appreciate our friendship between our respective organizations and support to Robert. So I'm told I have 2 more minutes. And so there's one question that's related that I think is a little bit opportunistic, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you're here, is how do new business owners start the conversation with initiatives that you mentioned so that they can get the pipeline to receive funding to start their business ideas?
It depends on what you're doing, right? I mean, but you've got to go do the work. I mean, it's different if you say, hey, I want to own a chain of barbershops, or say, hey, I want to start a software company, right? But you've got to go do the work and understand the landscape of what the opportunities are out there, and be prepared to talk to thousands of people to figure out where the seam is that works for what it is that you want to do. And then when you show up, make sure what it is that you want to do makes economic sense, right? You get the, hey, I've got this great idea, and someone pitches it to you. Say, yeah, that looks like a lovely thing for you to do, but it doesn't make your investors any money, right? So, so you got to be, you got to educate yourself and kind of, and embrace that. That as a fundamental step is educating what would cause someone to invest in your business. And for most investors, it's returns to them. Make no mistake about it. Investors aren't interested in just putting you in business so you have a different life or lifestyle. They're not interested in that. Most are interested in how am I going to get a reasonable rate of return for the capital and the risk that I'm taking and putting it into you? And like I said, don't get offended, but that's what investors do, right?
Pretty plain.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, it's been absolutely great, and it's good to see you.
You too,
I look forward to seeing you in person one of these days soon. But thank you for spending time with us at the conference. Your perspectives and the experiences and things, and inspiring us to be more legacy related as relates to making a difference in our respective communities with the monies and resources that we have, is what landed very, very well. So it's
a pleasure. And listen, again, for all of the folks who are on, encourage every one of your corporations to participate in some form of 2% solution. Get them to figure out ways to contribute capital or know-how that aids our community, so that we have the ability to participate more fully in the economy. I mean, if you folks are in the companies, and if you make the call and and make the demands of your management teams, they'll listen. It's a lot easier from the inside than it is from the out.
Well said. Thank you. It's
all right.
Good to see you.
Thanks, all right. All the best to you. Yep.
All right.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.